Hello, my name is Bonnie Burke and I work for Workforce Resource. This webinar that you are attending is titled Team Building. I'm going to tell you the hows of team building and the whys. I hope you enjoy this seminar because it's actually a part of a series of webinars. And if you complete or attend all 4 of these webinars, you will earn a certificate called Critical Employment Skills. So if you attend following directions, how to succeed in your next job, problem solving, and this one today in team building, you will earn a certificate. And you might think, why do I want a certificate? Well, you can put it on your resume and you can talk about it with an employer during an interview. Employers, they like to see, what are we doing in between jobs, or what are we doing when we're out job searching? So recent education can be helpful. Team building, I love Bert. And so he says, don't worry, it's gonna be cool, Homer, on the job, man. This team's under construction. In my job, when I worked in manufacturing for a number of years, I was responsible for our company's continuous improvement. If employees chose, they could form a team and they could work on a continuous improvement project. You might say, so why would they want to do that? Well, it actually was a requirement of their jobs. They could receive bonuses if their team saved the company money, and it was fun. So part of my job was to train them not only just in continuous improvement or problem solving, but also how to function as a team. So I'm hoping the information I'm sharing with you today, I know it helps some of them, and I'm hoping it will help you too. Not only in your career teams, but also in teams that you may be involved in your personal life. What do I hope that you're going to take away from this training? Well, first of all, we're going to talk about what are the different stages of team development. So they all have names, and we'll talk about those. I also hope you take away and recognize what are the benefits, but then also what are the challenges of working in a team. Some of the challenges are conflict, so we're going to talk about that. I also hope you take away an understanding of the important roles and different responsibilities for each team member. And then I hope I can give you some tools to help you work cooperatively in a team. So 4 main points that I hope you take away from this webinar. What is a team? Well, we all think of, I think at least, sports teams, and we know what a football team looks like, right? Or a basketball team. Well, this is the definition that I had to share with my employees. Definition of a team, we defined it as a small number of people. Just like sports, you can't have too many people on that team, yet you can't have just a few people. I would encourage our employees to have an optimum number of 5 to 7 people. Anything more than that, it took way too long to get anything done. And anything less than that, you're not going to get enough opinions, enough knowledge and skills. Because my second point of a definition of a team is that group of people that have complementary skills and knowledge. They may have different skills and knowledge, however, they are all committed to a common purpose or a common goal, and they complement each other. That commitment to a common purpose is what can make a team successful, or it can also make a team fail. A team also has established goals and established methods. Well, for sports team, their goal is to win the game, right? Well, in teams that we're involved in work, for my employees, they had to actually write out what was their goal, what did they hope to accomplish by meeting as a team. But then the next piece is also very important. A team, they hold each other accountable. When people are not holding up to their end of their responsibilities, they help each other, they call each other on it, so they can hold each other accountable. I want to show you this video of amazing teams. When I found this, I was just blown away. This video is about sports gladiators and the power of. I'm going to let you watch it. I hope you enjoy it and think about the end of it. It says the power of, and I hope you can fill in the blank. What was the power of the gladiators? What was the power for those employees in those sporting events you got to watch? The power was that they all came together and they acted as one force. There wasn't conflict or interfighting or going in different directions. The power was they had a common goal, they had a common purpose, and they acted as a unit, the power of one. If your job is not just being a member of a team, that you get to help choose team members, I have a tip for you. Make sure when you look at choosing team members is that you consider all of the different, not just skills and knowledge, but also emotions. You may want to choose somebody on your team who's very dynamic, but not too many, because if somebody is charismatic and outspoken and an extrovert, they can easily overtake everyone else's opinion. And so you want people who are energetic, but you also want an introvert, someone who's going to sit back, who's going to think it through, and someone, though, who's not afraid to speak up once they've considered all the different options. So diversity of not just skills and knowledge, but diversity of emotions and personalities is what's going to help a team be successful. I want to share with you this website, and I hope that you can take this assessment after this webinar. It's really fun, and you can tell by the woman's face that it's pretty colorful. The assessment's called What Color is Your Personality? I'm going to show you just a few things. We're not going to do it all together during this webinar, but if you take the assessment, you're going to know what color your personality is. When you take the assessment, if your color is orange, it means that you're optimistic, you're generous, you thrive on conflict. That's not me. But if you took that assessment and you're an orange, let's see if that's right. If your color was gold, it means you value rules and organization and you're really goal-orientated. If your color was green, you're curious. You question authority, you ask a lot of questions, and you focus on the future. If your color is blue, that assessment says you're a risk taker. You bring excitement to a group, you make decisions based on feelings. So when you look at all of those personalities, you can easily see the good and the not so good about the different personalities. Yet, in order for a team to operate and to function together, it will function the best when you bring different personalities together. My next question to you, what is your favorite team and why? When I asked that question in my class, a lot of people mentioned sports teams. And of course we live in Wisconsin, so a lot of people mention Green Bay Packers. Well, the reason I hear consistently why the Green Bay Packers is their favorite team is not because they win often, it's because they're owned by their fans and just the history. They've been in our state for a long time. Thinking of that team, I love this quote about a team. Vince Lombardi says, "The individual commitment to a group effort, that is what makes a team work, a company work, a society work, a civilization work. It's that commitment." Thinking back of the video you watched on the gladiators, that individual commitment, the power of one. Think of other teams though. Have you been involved in teams at work? Have you been involved in teams in volunteer organization? So some of the teams that I've been involved in, and maybe you have also, are special project teams. For an example, the company I worked for, we moved locations. We didn't just move one location, we moved 3 locations into one building. That was a huge project. We needed maintenance people, we needed supervisors, we needed HR, we needed lots of people. So we ended up having 3 different project teams because of such a huge project. But boy, the day after we moved in, our team celebrated. That was a huge project. Another type of team that you may hear about in a work setting, it's called a self-directed work teams. Those typically are teams that have been together for a long time. They've worked together in their current job setting. And to be a true self-directed work team, they do not have an individual supervisor. They supervise and direct themselves. I have to be honest with you, I've never had the opportunity to work in a self-directed work team. However, the research I've done have found that companies that do it have been successful when they have the right people on those teams. My safety hat comes back on, and I've been involved in a lot of safety committees. I wonder if you have also. Our safety committees were very, very successful in helping our company reduce injuries. We did audits, we worked on safety laws, we worked on safety training, we rotated employees through that safety team. I talked earlier about the problem solving or the continuous improvement teams. Some companies actually call that lean teams. Same definition, just a different term. The problem solving teams our employees worked on, most of them absolutely loved it. It gave them a voice. It gave them a chance to improve their work environment. How do you address problems? Because most teams are either together to do a project, like I talked about what our company did when we moved, or they're addressing a problem. And that's what our problem-solving teams did. So the first thing when I was training our employees how to function as a team, how to do problem solving, I first had to teach them how to see. You might want to think, how to see what? Well, oftentimes in our work environment, we can get really focused on doing the job, yet we may not see some of the problems that are getting in the way for us to do our job successfully. So there was a whole classroom of information that I would talk about, but for you, I'm going to show you this video that I will prove my point that it's important to learn how to see. So what did you get for an answer? Did you get the 15? Did you see the gorilla in the room? I love when I do this, when I actually get to see people's response. Because typically 10% of the people will see the gorilla, but most of the time, at least 90% of people do not even see that gorilla. And you trust when they rewound it, they actually do rewind it. So you get this big black gorilla, right? Walking through the middle of the stage. How did we not see it? Our focus wasn't on the big picture. Our focus was on a very narrow scope, white t-shirts, passing the ball. And that's what can so easily happen in our jobs, in our personal lives also. So I'm hoping on teams that you're involved in to open your eyes. Hopefully you can see the big picture. And if you get stuck on a problem, think of that gorilla in the room. Am I forgetting to look for that gorilla? So why do companies invest in teams, you might ask? Well, for me it was fun, but it's not always fun for everyone. The biggest reason I felt that it was important, because remember, to be in a team for our employees, it cost money. Every employee that was in a team, if you had 7 employees and they all made, for an example, $10 an hour, for every hour they met, it's $70. So it's expensive. So companies need to get a return on their investment. That's important to management. Most of the time, the employees in the team, what they benefited from was just that sense of ownership, a sense of pride when they were able to resolve a problem. And also, to me, it was a really fun and unique method of solving a problem. If a department was having a problem that they just could not resolve, they had management in, they had HR in, they had other people look at it, was to get the right people together in a team who knew how to see the big picture. It was amazing, their results. The other reason to form that group of people is a word called synergy. Well, 1 + 1 does not equal 2. That's the definition of synergy. None of us are as smart as all of us. So the saying 2 heads are better than 1, that's exactly what synergy is. And that's exactly the benefit of a team. I'm going to talk next about the structure of a team. You don't just bring a group of people together and expect that they're going to function. Everyone in that team should be assigned a specific role. You're going to need a leader or a facilitator. Who's the best person to make sure that things get done, that we can stay on task? You're also going to need, some people call them a note taker, a secretary. I call them a scribe or reporter, somebody who's going to write down what are the action items, get those minutes out before the next meeting. I also would always assign a timekeeper. If management gave us 1 hour every week to meet, that meant 1 hour. It didn't mean an hour and a half or 2 hours. Without that timekeeper, it was so easy to go over. And then also, of course, you need team members. Not everybody needs a designated role. I have a little activity that I want you to do. And you're going to have to use your imagination on this one. This one's called a toothpick activity. Now, I want you to pretend you have a pile of toothpicks in front of you. And if you are attending this webinar by yourself, your job is going to be to make a list by yourself of all the different uses you can do with a pile of toothpicks. And if you're attending this webinar and there's 2 or 3 people in the room, well, I would like those people to, as a group, come up with all the ideas they can think of to do with a pile of toothpicks. So for that group, if you have 3 people, assign 1 person as a leader, 1 person as a timekeeper, because I'm only going to give you a minute, and also 1 person who's going to be the reporter. 1 person who's going to say, this is what we came up with. But if you only have 2 people, you can be the lead and the reporter. Okay? So if you're attending this by yourself, you can be the individual person. So I'm going to give you 1 minute, maybe I'll give you 2 minutes, to come up with as many ideas that you can do with a pile of toothpicks. All right, you ready? Go. How many ideas did you come up with? I wish I could hear your answers, but I'll share with you what other students have came up with. So did you come up with that you could use it for hors d'oeuvre picks? Have you came up with it as the traditional clean your teeth? How about with a bottle of glue, you can build houses, you could build stick figures. It's really fun to see, did the group of people come up with more ideas than the individual person? If the group of people know each other and are comfortable with each other, statistically, they'll come up with more ideas. However, if they're brand new to each other, they've never met, they're going to spend that minute and a half just getting to know each other and being comfortable. And that's usually when that individual person will excel. So this is an activity that I really challenge you to do sometimes as a group. Because who typically would have most fun? It's typically the group, the team. If that team knows each other, like I said, that's typically the group that will have the longest list. And it doesn't matter who has the best idea. It's always fun to see and laugh at some of the ideas that they come up with. So how creative were you? Why did I have you do that activity? The purpose of it was to help realize that when you have a group of people together and you're trying to resolve a problem, that together as a group, you can come up with more ideas than you traditionally can if you're working on it all by yourself. I don't know about you, but I can clearly think of times that I'm just struggling to resolve something. I'm just struggling to come up with ideas. If I step back, go talk about it with someone else, get a couple people around the table, I usually walk away thinking, yes, I've got it. So good. Toothpick activity. Try it at home sometimes too. In your team, the leader, it's a lot of responsibility. So make sure it's the right person in that position. They need to keep the other team members on track. It is so easy to get sidetracked. It's so easy to start talking about what we did at home, what our kids are doing, what she said, he said. The team leader gets them on track. The team leader also stays within their budget. Sometimes our employees did have a budget, and it was very important that they stayed within those guidelines. It's the team leader's responsibility to also check for consensus. Everybody does not have to agree on the project. They just have to say, yes, I'm willing to give it a try. That's the definition of consensus. They have to be able to ensure that if there are documents that need to be updated, if people need to be trained because of the changes that their team is making, that happens. And the last point, and I probably should have put this on as the first point, a leader should work with that team and develop a list of ground rules, something that's going to help them hold each other accountable. So what does the scribe or recorder? Well, that's pretty easy. What do? They take minutes. In today's world of wonderful technology, they could do that on the computer, they could do it on their iPad, or old-fashioned paper and pencil. Capture the action items. Who's going to do what and by when? Typically, they distribute the minutes in a timely manner before the next meeting, giving people that information so they can get their jobs done. Timekeeper, pretty easy. Keep the team on track. The reporter, if your team is large enough, and in my last job, we always assigned a reporter to a person who was a little bit more outspoken, a person who did not mind going to a supervisor to say, hey, this is what we're doing. So a reporter actually reports on the team's progress and brings that information back to management or back to the supervisor. And then they also make sure that what the team is working on aligns with the vision of the company or management. So it's not a team structure that you always have to have, but I wanted to share with you how our company used a reporter. We've got the roles and responsibilities, but the next piece that I want to talk about, I feel, is really important to think about. When you first form a team, if you get 3 to 5 people together and they have never worked together before, that stage of team development is called forming. They might know each other, but they might not know each other well. And they might be thinking, what are we supposed to be doing? And they might be unclear about roles and responsibilities. So they're not very productive, typically for those first meetings, maybe in the first couple of meetings, because they're forming. Sometimes they're concerned about, are they going to like me? Am I going to be stupid? Or I don't like that person. So that forming is really normal. Keep that in mind anytime you add a new member to a team. Now that team starts all the way over back with the forming stage. The leader in the beginning stages of a team is rarely challenged. They might think things about them, but they rarely challenge the leader. The second stage of team development is called storming. Or if any of you have had adolescent children, you're going to be able to relate to this stage. And this is normal, just like adolescence is normal. Most teams at some stage may have problems getting along. We're humans, right? And as we get to know each other's personalities and what works well and what we like and don't like, it can cause conflict. And sometimes competition develops. It's like, no, this is my idea. This is the best idea. Do it my way. And so that competition, that storming, is normal. But what's important is that the conflict is addressed, that they work through that conflict, and that they move on to be more productive. Sometimes conflict is caused by a weak sense of direction. If that team has not sat down and said, this is the goal, this is what we need to accomplish, or if they don't have management support, it can cause conflict. So you need that strong purpose, that strong goal. Infighting, absolutely, is so easy to happen. I think of even any family with children, there can be infighting. And sometimes it's just you need to step back and talk to each other with respect. Sometimes if people shirk their responsibilities, well, you said you were going to do that and you didn't. So shirking the responsibilities can make people feel, ooh, do I need to do it myself? Lack of trust. If you've assigned something to a team member and you're not sure they're going to do it, or you're not sure you trust what they did, so that can cause conflict within a group too. And then also lack of communication. Just the ability to talk things through, to be honest without blame and judgment. Several different things can cause conflict in a team, but what's really important is for you to understand that's normal, and a team can become productive if they work through that stage, if they work through it with dignity and respect. Another stage of team development that I really like when my teams got to this point is I don't like conflict. I don't deal with it well. Trust me, ask my kids. But this next stage, teams start to be productive. They start getting comfortable with each other. And remember, this can take time, especially if you have not worked with each other before. Members at this stage can start to becoming open and honest with each other. They can ask for feedback. They can ask for constructive criticism. Not only can they ask for it, they can accept constructive criticism. Usually by this time, there's no blame or judgment. People stick to the facts, and they're not doing anymore the he said, she said, oh, second shift, first shift. No blame, no judgment. And at this point, the team starts making a significant progress on their project. And that's what it's all about. We're not together to have coffee and talk about the weather. Teams are typically formed, especially in our jobs, to accomplish a goal. And so when my teams were at that stage, I cannot believe the things that they could get done. So the next stage is called performing. Once again, this is where things get done. They start to feel a close connection, not just at work, but they're really getting to know each other. And when you're listening to these different stages, keep in mind this takes time. So if this is a really small project, you can get it accomplished in a meeting. You don't usually need a team. But if this is a big project, something that's ongoing, something that's causing maybe the company to lose money or to work on a project where there's a deadline, remember, it takes time for a team to work together to be productive, to get through these stages. So when a team is in the performing stage, they really feel pride in their accomplishments. Everyone does what it takes to get the job done. The last phase that I made sure that all of our teams did, even if they didn't accomplish their entire goal, was to celebrate. We would have potlucks. They got certificates. They got their pictures taken. They got a plaque on the wall sometimes. It was really fun. The president of our company would come in for those potlucks and thank them for what they did. The team leader or the team reporter would talk about what they did, what they accomplished, and once again, if they didn't accomplish their goal, what did they learn? And what could someone else maybe do or pick up from what they learned? And then it's really important to close out that team. We're done, we either accomplished or we didn't accomplish, and we need to move on. Sometimes, unless you do that adjourning, teams can go on and on and on. It's like the song that never ends, right? So it's when you have met your goal or realize you can't achieve your goal, it's time to close out the meeting and move on. I'm going to give you next a few tools to help you work effectively. Because remember, that's what it's all about, getting things done. Remember that saying, get her done? Well, that used to be my theme song. Teams, to be effective, you have to schedule those meetings. Put it in your calendar. Tuesdays, 9 o'clock for the next 5 Tuesdays. Whatever it is, schedule it. Make sure it's a time that's going to work for everybody. Clarify roles and responsibilities right at the very first meeting, making sure people know what we're working on. You may or may not have a budget. If you need resources, you may need to go to management and verify and also prove why we need a budget. But to work effectively, sometimes there's specific resources or a budget a team may need. This piece, I think, is really important. It needs to be done during the first meeting. A team should establish and post ground rules. How are you going to hold each other accountable and do it with respect? Our company used a system called the Four-Fold Way. And the first part of our ground rules of that Four-Fold Way was know what has heart and meaning. So working on a project and things change. It's not going to help you meet your goal. It doesn't have heart and meaning anymore. Maybe it's time to adjourn. So establish ground rules, post them, and then also clarify your goals. Within that first couple of meetings, making sure your goal is in writing, making sure it's approved, and making sure you keep that goal visual. It's kind of like if you want to lose weight. If you just say, hey, I think I want to lose about 10 pounds. I want to lose, do I want to lose it by Christmas or do I want to lose it by the next year? And so to keep that goal, weight loss, or your team's goal, keep it visual, keep it realistic, and keep it achievable. I want to show you a picture of a project that one of our teams worked on. So their goal, this was a piece of equipment that was about $250,000, crazy expensive. However, it was passed as warranty. Every single shift, and we had 2 shifts, every shift, our employees spent over an hour, 2 hours a day, cleaning out this machine. Yikes. I did it one time. I hated it. I had shavings up my nose, in my hair. I was itchy. And what these were was plastic shavings. This machine drilled holes in a plastic bar. So the team's goal was to take that cleanup time from an hour to 15 minutes. Wow, that's big, right? But they worked with maintenance, they worked with the engineers, they worked with the people who operated and cleaned that machine, and together as a team, and it took them maybe 6 weeks to do this, but initially it wasn't 15 minutes. Initially they were able to get it down to 30 minutes. To get it down even further, they had to purchase a type of suction system. And once that was purchased, they did achieve their goal. In fact, eventually they got it down to 10 minutes. Think of that labor savings alone. But also think of the machine it saved. All of those electronic parts with all that dust and static floating around, I firmly believe it extended the life of that machine several more years. And then also just morale. Who likes to go home every day covered with plastic shavings, right? I know I didn't, and they didn't either. So that team was a success, and their goal was visual to them. In addition, realize that each employee has a shared responsibility for that team's success. It's not just the leader, it's not just the scribe, everyone has responsibility. But it's also important, I believe, to delegate tasks. Everyone should be assigned specific responsibilities. It helps you work together. That shared task can get things done much faster. But also recognize your accomplishments. Even if you didn't achieve your complete goal, celebrate what you did achieve. Why teams? I love this little saying. Together, everyone achieves more. Not always. Remember, if it's a project that merits putting a team together, everyone at that point, if they function together correctly, if they have their ground rules, if they have a goal, if they have assigned responsibilities, the team will achieve more than just one person working by themselves. I'm going to show you and end up some of our day together with this video. I love it. It's a little YouTube clip of a commercial. And take a look. I hope it makes you smile, because the title of this little commercial is Everybody Achieves More Working Together.
It's smarter to travel in groups.
If you were the only little crab on the beach by yourself, would you have been able to have stopped that seagull? I don't think so. So good. I want to review the information that we just covered. Why are teams important? Well, together we achieve more. Remember the word synergy. What's the definition of a team? It's a small group of people. Remember, you can't have 9 to 12 people. You can't have 1 or 2 people. 5 to 7 people max that are together. They have a clear goal. They have structure. So it's a group of people who are committed to a common purpose. We talked about different stages of a team, and this is very important, I believe, for teams to be successful, to understand that there are stages that you go through when you work together. That conflict stage, yikes, that's the worst one. And you may need help getting through that stage. And sometimes that's what friends are for, or that's what HR is for. So remember the stages of a team. You're forming, you're storming, adolescent. You're conforming or norming, and you're getting things done. You're performing. Now you're really getting things done. But to remember, when you're done, you're done. So to adjourn the team. What different structure members should be in place for a team to be productive? Remember, we talked about you need to have a team leader. You need to have a scribe or a secretary, the old-fashioned term. You need to have somebody who's going to keep you on time, or a timekeeper. So different roles need to be assigned when that team forms. I really encourage you, with your next job, or even currently in your personal life, is there a team that you would like to be on? Think of what you could do for a company if you were involved in a team. Not all companies embrace teams. I just felt we were very fortunate that our management did. It was powerful, it was fun. In fact, the last year that I worked with them, our teams, and I said our teams, saved the company $450,000. That was a lot to cheer about. It doesn't always happen, but that year we did, and we had a lot to celebrate. So I hope you've enjoyed this presentation on team building. I hope that some of the tools that we've talked about can help you in your next job or in a team that you might be currently involved in. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Thank you and have a good day.